Hey, it's Adam with the Backpack Theory Podcast, where we unpack past experiences to help define a better future. Today, I want to talk and unpack the conversation of time. Over the past few months, I was invited in to help do some consulting and some, sales work with a company here in Oklahoma City. It's actually a brand new sports network called Sellout Crowd. And I played sports growing up. I was super into sports. Played basketball almost my entire life, ran track, just grew up around and loving sports. In my 20s, I think through a bunch of different situations, I kind of fell away from it. But the really cool thing about being involved in brokering partnerships with this new sports network here in Oklahoma is the fact that I've really kind of re-engaged and redeveloped that love for sports. And I actually started reading a book on sports psychology and found it fascinating because there's one chapter that's really just talking about different stories in sports and how there's always this idea of this finish line in sports. And if you look at athletes and you look at a whole lot of different studies, the finish line is their benchmark for where they are going to, and that's where they need to get, right? Whether it be the end of a game, whether it be a finish line in a race, whatever it may be, like there's always this goal. And so like I'll be sitting there, and so I'm a big OU fan. So like last weekend, I was watching the game and I was so frustrated because towards the end of the game, OU was playing against UCF. And in my mind, we had a bye week, should have blown them out of the water. And I just kept on watching, and I was like, "Well, what are they doing? Like, what are they waiting for? Why are they not utilizing the time to the best of their ability that they've been given? Like, why are they waiting till the last seconds?" And you sit there and you watch sports, and it's so much fun to watch and interact with sports fans and also like previous athletes and coaches because we're sitting there and we're watching the game and we're always coaching it and we're super into it, just breaking down every single play and breaking down all the different time, looking at the timeouts, the way that those were utilized. And we are just really, really good at basically, being a coach on the sideline of how exactly these players should be using their time. Then there's the entire other thing outside of an individual sports game where we start analyzing what are they doing in their off time whenever they're not on the field? Are they actually, working out? Are they running around with Taylor Swift's of the world? If you look at Travis Kelce, what are these athletes doing with their time to get better? It's really easy to fall into this mindset in relation to sports of time, right? Like if you really look at your life, it is no different than a game. There is a start and there's a finish. The big difference between a football game, basketball game, track meet, tennis, whatever your sport is that you're really into, in the game of life, we know where the start is. We know where we came from. That finish line can get a little confusing. It's really easy as a sports fan to stand on the sidelines and really analyze every single minute that's utilized, analyze every single thing that these people are doing in their lives. But it's equally easy not to look at what we're doing in our lives. In our lives, we've got a total, I've actually got some crazy statistics. If you looked at our life broken down in the United States, our average lifespan is only 76 years. Now, I am 35 years old, proudly just turned 35. I'm officially in my mid 30s this last week, right? So super excited. So if you look at statistically, 76 years is how long the average American lives. That means that I've almost lived half of my life, right? The quality of life, if you look at just a quality life, like how long you can actually live a healthy life independently away from your parents. The average time is only 40 years. So realistically, you get 40 years of independence where your body doesn't start breaking down. Now, there's a lot of things whenever it comes to technology and everything that is changing that. But for right now, that's where we're at. If you break that down and you do some quick division on it, that only equals 27,740 days. So in your lifetime, you've got 27,000, almost 28,000 days on average. You've got 665,760 hours and 39,945 minutes. So realistically, if you spend 30 minutes watching this podcast, if that's how long it ends up being, then you spend a significant time of your life. Actually, if you broke it down, you could actually watch, if you did nothing from the day you were born to the average day that you die, which is 76 years, you would be able to watch 1,331,520 30-minute podcasts. For you sports fans, this is going to be exciting for you. If each game that you watched averaged 3 hours, in your 76 years, you would be able to watch 220 games in total. All these numbers to me just start speaking to me as I start breaking them down. And I start really analyzing them, because whenever you look at stuff like sports and you compare it to your lifeline, whenever you look at stuff like podcasts, like, it makes you start thinking about, like, where am I spending my time in my game of life? Am I using every single minute to maximize what my life looks like? Am I even playing in the game that I was meant to play in? Am I playing in someone else's game? Who's coaching me? Whenever I make a turnover, when you make a turnover in your life, you don't know if that turnover might be the last turnover that you ever make, because you don't quite know where the finish line is. We've got a lot of averages, right? We know that approximately we could live this long, but we have no promise for that. Time is just such a beautiful catastrophe, isn't it? The average person in the United States holds a grudge for 5 years. 5 years. We spend 5 years of our lives holding a grudge against someone. Do you know how much energy that takes? Do you know how much extra time that takes out of your day, out of your peace, out of your game? I, speaking to myself, find myself so many times not taking the time in my game of life and utilizing it to its full potential. I spend more time worrying about what the guy did in the OU game. I spend more time worrying about what someone did on social media yesterday. Our lives, our time that we've been blessed with, what if we just really started being more and more intentional with it? What if we really chose to take our time and we really cherished it and really recognized the fact that we're not all here forever? Just like a football game, there's a beginning, there's an end. Again, the big difference is that you don't know whether it's going to be 3 hours or not. You don't know if you have 76 years. You don't know if you're going to leave the house. I don't know if I'm going to leave the house today. This brings up a lot of emotions for me. This brings up a lot of thoughts for me. This brings up all the moments that I chose to do something else instead of spend it one way or the other. As I take all these things out of my backpack, I take all these hours, all these minutes that I used in life. Did I use them correctly? I'm here talking to you today because I'm just brainstorming. In my game of life, like, what can I do to make sure that I'm maximizing the time that I do have and I have been given on this earth? We all have a purpose. We have a plan. But so many times we get stuck up in these games that we don't even want to be in. We have people that are coaching us that really have no business coaching us. We have other players that we think are on our team that betray us, so we hold a grudge. God's the only one that really helps you with that time. Crazy is, I talk about social media a lot simply because it's a struggle that I have. I personally struggle spending too much time on social media. I actually took a 2-week social media fast, a couple leading up to my birthday. And it was remarkable to me how much more time I found, how much more intentional I was with my daughter, how it was like, wow, I can do that. Wow, I can help that person. Wow, I got everything done and I've got some extra time on my hands. The average person spends 151 minutes daily on social media. That is 15 minutes per year, scrolling through our phone. Now, again, I think there's a lot of good things on social media. I think there's a lot of good outreach. I think there's a lot of good community there. But what if we just carved off a little bit of that time and used it to do something else? Instead of spending 3,000 days over 76 years of our lives stuck to our phone, because, we're addicted to it. It's easy. Time is just, it's a resource that you can't purchase. If you really think about it, whenever it comes to the fact that we've got 39 million, almost 34 million minutes in a life, right? That means that, I've spent a percentage of that here talking to you today. Figuring out to spend your time, figuring out what things to concentrate on, figuring out whether or not it's worth carrying around that burden that you have for a really long time, figuring out whether or not, if you got hit by a car today and you looked back, are there any relationships that are broken that you really wish that you had extended some grace to? Are there any moments where you wish you had called a timeout? Are there some fumbles that you wish that you had acknowledged and taken responsibility for to help repair a relationship with a teammate? Are there some coaches that you wish you hadn't listened to? Are there some coaches you wish you had listened to? Are there some family members you wish you had invited to your game that you didn't give tickets to because you thought you had more time? This hits me square between the eyes, which is why I'm sharing it with you, because listening to that podcast or listening to that audiobook and thinking about the finish line and realizing the fact that my finish line, I don't really know where it's at. Only God does. It's a hard thing to conceptualize, and it's a hard thing to accept. I'm in the game right now. Life is one continuous long game up until it's over. And the more that I grow, the more that God speaks to me, the more that He works in my life, the more that I realize time is the most valuable thing that He gives to us. Am I being charitable enough? When someone stops and says, "Hey, can you help me in this moment?" Do I take my time that I've been given and give that to someone else? Are there some people in my life that are just wasting my time? And I'm openly allowing it to happen because I'm not being intentional enough with my time. I don't know if this has touched you or not today, but I just felt so burdened to share it. And I know there's one person that's going to end up watching this that's going to really connect with it. And if that's you, there's never a better time than now to get your head in the game. There's never a better time than this moment to make the change. There's never a better time than this moment to choose to surrender. There's never a better time than now to start living your life to the fullest. There's never a better time than right now to choose to forgive someone who's hurt you. There's never a better time than right now to be grateful for all the things you do have. There's never a better time than right now to take all of those burdens out of your backpack and start really looking at them and wondering, is it worth carrying this stuff around? Or is it just wasting the time I've been blessed with? You have a purpose, you have meaning, and you have time if you choose right now to get your head in. Well, that's all our time for now. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all of you guys. By the way, I'm going to be launching a new podcast here soon on Sellout Crowd Sports Network, where hopefully I'm going to be able to interview some athletes and kind of talk about their mental health journeys. I think that sports is just so fascinating whenever it comes to the correlation between sports and real life. Because it's all a game. It really is. And I'm super excited. It's called The Beyond. So keep your eye peeled for it. If this touched you, if you ever have a question, if you ever need a friend, reach out to me. I'm always there. Thank you for listening. Till next time on the Backpack Theory, I'm Adam Corey. Choose your time wisely.